I'm an attorney that's been doing this for almost 3 decades, and I own an agency that's been doing it for almost 4 decades. So you are not going to find a greater depth of experience in this area anywhere at this conference or any other conference. I'm old. I'm 65. I mean, it's like I've been around forever. I'm a dinosaur, for God's sake. But the agency I run is steeped in experience, and my legal background includes 7 years as chairperson of the American Bar Association Assisted Reproductive Technology Committee. So I have led and developed law and policy and ethical rules for attorneys all over the globe to do surrogacy. So I want you to understand there's a great deal of experience and credibility in what we do and how we do it. And if you ask me a question and I give you an answer that's different from somewhere else, I'm probably giving you the right one. And you will get different answers. So, IARC is an agency that is committed to making this process as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, because I don't think whether you can afford to have a child should be the reason you do or don't. I can't make it no cost, but I can make it more cost effective. And every day I go to my office, I talk to doctors about how they can make it more cost effective. I talk to insurance agents and companies. I talk to my staff, and I make choices that tries to keep the cost more accessible to more of you. And I know it's economically daunting, and I'm sorry about that. But I'll do the best I can to make it as least imposing as possible. And that's why when you look at the average cost of the process in the brochure, we are generally at the low end. And there's 3 reasons why an agency with this experience and an attorney with this credibility that provides the most services of any agency here is one of the least expensive, because that can't happen, right? That's counterintuitive. You don't ever get the best for the least. You can't buy a Lexus for the cost of a Hyundai. Unless you know the car dealer, then maybe you can. But there are 3 reasons why IARC functions at a lower cost. The first is because we're in Minneapolis. The cost of living in the Midwest is lower than on the coast. And I can verify that, as I told the last group, because I just paid for a hotel in New York, for God's sake. And it's a hell of a lot more expensive than the hotel rooms in Minneapolis. So surrogate fees in the Midwest range from $27 to $35. If you go to the West Coast, it's $40 or $50 or $60 up to $70,000 just for the surrogate's fee. So you can save tens of thousands of dollars geographically by working in the middle of the country. On the East Coast, they're not as expensive as California, but they're not as inexpensive as the Midwest. So we have the benefit of that cost of living difference in maternity clothing and lost wages and prescription costs and everything that goes along with the process, and that reduces the cost. The second reason we don't cost as much are personal choices that I make in the process, because I own the business. I get to decide how much I charge and what I charge for. And I make choices every day to contribute services at no cost that other agencies charge for. Because I'm an attorney that's been doing this for nearly 3 decades, I'm very experienced in the insurance area, both the surrogate's maternity insurance and your postnatal coverage, and how those interact, and how you all have to be in network at the same hospital and keep the costs down. Because I've been doing that as part of our screening, I read every policy and I create a summary and I give it to you with this surrogate's profile so that you can assess the cost of her insurance as well as her fee in making that choice. And because I do that, and I can, whereas at other agencies they hire experts to give you an opinion and you get charged extra over the agency fee for that work, I just include it in the agency fee. And the agency fee is no higher than theirs. So you get free services. because I'm a law firm and I have a bank that holds my attorney-client trust accounts, as I'm required by professional responsibility rules, that bank acts as a third-party escrow agent that is required generally in the area of practice for agencies, because agencies shouldn't hold your money because they can misappropriate it. That's never a good thing. Or if they go bankrupt because they're poor money managers, it doesn't get tied up with their corporate assets, which is another not good thing. So all of that third-party escrowing, including the monthly reimbursement to the surrogate of all expenses and the financial reporting to you with receipts of the management of your expense account so that you're tracking exactly what the cost of your process is, all of that work that is generally referred out to third-party escrow companies like Seed Trust or some other agency, and you're charged $1,500 for. I have an accountant on staff, I have a bank that'll do that. I don't charge you for it. And there are other economies that I include that I'm not listing, but because I do a lot of things because I think it's the right thing to do, and not because I want to charge for them and make money on them, the cost of your process is lower. The third reason, and what I think the most important reason that our programs are less expensive, is because I don't decide what your program looks like. I don't force you to pick a particular clinic. Some agencies say, if you pick us, we're going to work with this clinic. Well, that's not a good idea, because not every clinic is right for every parent. Not every agency is right for every parent. We're not the right agency for all of you. And no clinic is the right clinic for all of you. And there are maybe 4 or 5 clinics here. There are 500 clinics in the United States. I know dozens of them. You only see the ones that are here. If you give me your 2 or 3 top priorities for a clinic, I'm going to compare them to all the clinics I know that you don't, and find the 2 or 3 best matches for you. And sometimes that's cost. Sometimes it's geography. Sometimes it's success rates. Sometimes it's whether they have a donor program. So all of those elements will come into selecting your clinic, and I don't take kickbacks for clinics for referrals. I just match you with the best clinic, and I have a large number of them because you have a diverse spectrum of needs. In addition to customizing that part of the process as far as it goes to expense, you also have to decide whether or not you're doing guaranteed baby programs, which affects your expense. You have to decide whether you're doing genetic testing, which affects your expense. When you select your surrogate, you have to know her fee, but you have to know her out-of-pocket maximum, because you're responsible for the medical expenses, and some out-of-pocket maximums are $2,000 and some are $20,000. And if you don't look at the insurance and you just pick the lowest fee, you might get a $20,000 out-of-pocket maximum that throws your whole budget out of whack. So what we do is we talk you through all of these choices and educate you at each one, and that allows you to customize your process, because you start with a budget, you make choices that start to eat that budget up, and at the end of the process, when you're picking your surrogate or evaluating insurance or looking at lost wages, you know how much you can spend. Can I go over the budget to go faster, or do I need to stay under my budget and wait 2 months for just the right surrogate with a really low fee and a really low insurance? It's your choice. So because you're in charge of your own budget and your cost, I think that's the most powerful way we keep our costs down. Now, I have about 9 minutes, and I want to give you the information you need, not the information I want to tell you. So before I let you ask me questions, because that's what I really want to get to, I cannot do a Vulcan mind meld with each and every one of you and put all of my years of experience into each of your brains. I wish I could, but I'm willing to share my 30 years of experience freely. You do not have to pay me for my time, and you don't have to hire my agency. I will Skype with you, I will talk with you on the phone for an hour at your convenience to answer questions, because the one thing I know as you leave this conference is you will be totally confused. How many of you already are? All right, see, there you go. So make sure, if you're interested in picking my brain at a longer period of time on more issues, to go to the IARC table with the green tablecloth, punch your name and information in on the iPad there, and my assistant Marilyn will call you up and schedule a Skype, and that is my gift to you, to make sure you have the knowledge to chart your path in the best way possible, even if that's with someone else. All right? Now, what do you guys need to know? What are you curious about? No extroverts? Oh, there he is.
Can you talk a little bit about surrogacy matching and how you think about it? What's your secret sauce when it comes to it? And is it really localized in Minneapolis? It's a very tactical question.
Surrogate matching. I think surrogate matching is the most critical part of making it an intimate, human, comfortable process. The first thing is important of two sets of separate identification. You need to write me your biography. You need to tell me why you're doing this, and then you need to tell me what you're looking for. Because there will be some objective things and there will be some subjective things. I want a married surrogate, not a single surrogate. I want a surrogate that's done it before, not a first-time surrogate. If she's done it before, I want a surrogate that's never had a miscarriage. Whatever your requirements are, I want twins. How many of you want twins? That will increase your wait time by 6 months. 40 to 70% of surrogates, depending on the recruitment wave, refuse to carry 2 embryos. So when you do twins, you take the universe of surrogates you can match with and take it from here down to here. So if you want to do that, exercise patience. It's not a bad choice, and I want you to talk to me. I want you to sign up and have an hour-long conference, and we're going to have a very long conversation about twins, okay? Practical, and why it's a good thing, because it is, and what the risks are, because there are some, and I want you to be fully educated as you make that choice. Once you make that choice becomes our choice, and we're passionate about it, but I believe in fully informed decision-making, and not everybody in this industry wants to give you all the information. I do, okay? Now, in terms of the matching process, we do the same thing with the surrogate. Are you willing to work with gay couples? Will you work with a single man? Will you work with an international couple? Will you work with an out-of-state couple? What are you willing to do? So when you get to the point of matching, you are only shown carriers that match on those objective criteria. And then you have to match on the subjective criteria. How many embryos will she accept? What kind of contact does she want during the pregnancy? If you fly in or travel to her, will she let you go to medical appointments? Will she let you be in the room at birth? If it's a C-section and only one person is in there, is it her husband or is it you? What kind of contact and relationship does she want after birth? A whole list of another 30 criteria that apply to everybody that you have to talk into a meeting of the minds and come to a position of trust on. And after you go through that process, we don't match you. You take a 24-hour cooling off period. She takes a 24-hour cooling off period. I go to you, I say, would you like to match with this surrogate? And you say yes or no. If you say yes, we go to her and we say, do you want to match with this parent? If it's not a mutual selection, you're not matched. So the matching process is very comprehensive. There's a lengthy in-person interview between you and the surrogate, during which you're going to sense whether she's the kind of person you can interact with successfully. Personalities matter. You're not going to marry just anybody. This is kind of like a marriage. Just like you have to be compatible, you and your surrogate have to be compatible. I've never had anybody say a Sagittarian should have a Leo, but we could take astrology into account if you're into that. But our matching process is very slow, very deliberate, very thorough. Because if we do that right, your process is going to be successful. It's going to be pleasant. It's going to be heartwarming. It's going to be validating. And that is our single biggest effort in our entire process. Does that make sense?
So just to clarify what you stated earlier, you can sort of expedite the surrogacy match period by paying a little bit more money?
The more money you're willing to spend, the more candidates will be open and available for you. All right? So the matching process works. You sign up with the agency. All right, so I got time for this. This is important. Agencies are going to try to get you to sign up with them by saying, we are going to match you in 4 months. We're going to match you in 6 months. First of all, ask them, does that mean I have to pick my own clinic, supervise my own donor and retrieval, and create my embryos, and when I have my embryos, I go to you, and then it's 4 to 6 months? Or does that mean I sign up with you, you help me select a clinic and start the process, and all of that is included, and I'm matched in 6 months? Because a lot of clinics say you have to have your embryos before you should come to us because the surrogate can't wait. When our match time is longer, what it means is we start earlier. We want you to pick us, sign up, and then we monitor, help you pick your clinic, your donor source, monitor the embryo creation, the genetic testing and storage of your embryos, which is 7 to 8 months. So when our wait time might be 12 months or 14 months compared to 6 months, it's because 8 months of that we're doing the medical procedure with you. And other agencies say you have to go off and do that on your own without supervision or support, and then come to us and we have a shorter wait time. Well, of course you do. But in reality, it's not that much different. The second thing is they can't tell you what the wait time is, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, when you sign up, the time from the time of sign up to the point where you're matching is determined by how many surrogates they recruit. They generally have an average number, but if they recruit more than that number, your wait time is shorter. Miracle. If they recruit fewer, it gets longer. And you know what? They can't predict or control that number. So they can't tell you that when you sign up, their recruitment's going to go at a certain level and they can guarantee you in X number of months you're going to be at the top. That is just a made-up number. It's an estimate. You can't rely on it. When you get to the point of matching, that doesn't mean you're matched. As I said, when you get to the point of matching, they're recruiting surrogates and profiling them and presenting them. If you have a list of 10 criteria and the first surrogate only meets 8, you can't match. You're there, you're ready to match, but the surrogate doesn't match you. And it may not match till the 2nd or the 4th or the 8th or the 12th, depending on how strict your requirements are. So when you get to the point of matching, nobody can predict how long a compatible matching surrogate will get there. And even if one does, nobody can predict that in that matching call you will mutually select. So how long it takes to get from sign up to match is unpredictable. And how long you're going to sit at match before you find someone that meets your criteria and mutually selects you is unknown. Any agency that gives you a number is just making it up. So be aware. Nobody can tell you, and don't rely on it. You can go with them, but just understand you may be in a totally different time frame.